I was like, at one point, I was like, is somebody using me for a freaking political campaign? I was like, that was weird. Because it was like all these ideas just came. I was like, wow. Or what I was saying, I used to watch the what do you call it? Like primary debates. I used to always like sit back and like be in deep thought. Of course, I was in deep thought just minutes about like abortion, but and about like the whole non-nature there in regards to the Rose Bush and a land that isn't really known to be keen to roses or familiar with roses as far as like raping earth, raping Mother Nature and planting a bush. And the bush actually turning out to be the staple of that area, the had a bit of a pizzazz and razzle dazzle to that environment to where other people look in admiration or awe, or being that you can take a blessing out of that from the counterbalance of energy, that being the energy that somebody is withdrawing and not wanting to have the child, and somebody's really wanting to have the child and creating such a beautiful fruit. Because typically you have it to where it's like the cheerleader versus or cheerleader and football star, where you're putting your best foot forward and you're creating this energy that's like in full motion of doing this dance or this tango of life. When you think about it, like he's just like, I'm going in. She's like, yes, I want you to. It's like a longing and a yes and a giving and a longing and a giving and a longing and giving, kind of the in and out motion if you take it. And it's beautiful in itself. And even out of rape, like I said, you can create a seed and nourish it, and it becomes something that adds to the greater good and overall betterment of humanity. Like you never know what can come from that child or that seed that you created, and in that you should keep life. I mean, in a sense that if it needs to be aborted, meaning a physical limitation that it might place on your body and or harm. And you're giving doctors for that. You're giving doctors to know which way to go, left or right in that sense. That's why we have the greatest in the fields that are out there teaching and learning and doing and changing and innovating in medical. But I believe like there's no way that you really should abort. There should just be more support from society, because it could be that very being that changes it. And in that be able to support monetarily, meaning the person might not be in the place to have a child, and you sit back and you give the child support, you give the mother support, and it might be that child that goes on to stop further rapes. You know what I mean? Like he's going to be hanging out with a pack of guys that might think it cool, or might be the one that's in that group that says no, this ain't right, and deter it from happening further. The counterbalances of life that you interrupt when you think about it. Do you really think that somebody that grew up in a home where a mother was raped and knows that is going to be keen on doing it after watching his mother struggle, watching his mother, like, knowing that he really wanted a dad to be around, but his dad did this deed that wasn't necessarily good, but they still made it. He still made it. He went to school, he graduated, he looks good. You know what I mean? And now he's with guys that are thinking about it, and he can say, no, that's not cool, bro. Like, I went through all this because of that. Like, what's wrong with you? And deter it. Like, do you want to take that counterbalance away from society? Do you want to take that blessing away from society? Do you want to take that possible advancement away from society? You should help the person through it. And in that also, it might help them through it. They might see the beauty in the baby. And if it's in a relationship that's already there, it's for that man to be strong enough to carry it, because it was you that said, for better or worse, to death do your part. And then if not, you could also Think about giving into somebody that wants a child that can't, and they can take that blessing, and they can nourish it, and it still can be a deterrence. Because guess what? That child was born and given up because of this, and put in a nice home, and he can still turn around and do the same thing and say, you know what? My mother, I understand what happened, why they couldn't cope. Some women, don't have the backing in society that they should. I was placed in a nice home. I was raised right. I'm here, and I'm here to tell you I miss my mother and my true mother and father, my true energy bearers, because they met in an ill, forgotten way. And it shouldn't happen like this, and go on to change the very fabric of life because he knows better. Or she knows better.